Hello, everyone. Hope you enjoyed some fantastic networking in the high-speed way we all live today. Happy to join you again and welcome your next speaker to the stage. Next up, we have Heidi Grissom, who is Head of Global Customer Marketing for the Bose Corporation in the Automotive Systems Division. And Heidi is going to speak on audience engagement in a shifting environment. So without further ado, I am so happy to welcome Heidi.
Thank you, and good day, everyone. As Tamara said, I'm Heidi Grissom, Head of Global Customer Marketing for Bose Corporation for the Automotive Division. I have been in the automotive industry for over 30 years. And in addition, have been in the mobile electronics category as well. So I've been around where people were upgrading stereos to cassettes to CD players. So the spectrum that I have had in viewing the industry over the last 30 plus years has been quite broad. Back in the day when we first started, as you see, being ABM or account-based marketing engagement in a shifting environment, I remember when we just called it B2B marketing. But over the last 30 years, the marketing to the OEM customers has really evolved and changed to pivot more in the direction of actually what I would call classic marketing and really touching on more of the B2C consumer elements of communications. Over the last 20 months, we've all been working from home and have experienced some very phenomenal changes in the consumer, in the retail industry, and in the buying behaviors of consumers. But we've also started experiencing and have been experiencing some of that in the automotive industry. The infusion of online capabilities to schedule test drives, transact sales, much of this actually started evolving with Tesla's methodology in bringing their cars to market. And even more recently, on the marketing aspect of the OEMs actually performing and executing their reveals on YouTube. So they've been able to bring the reveal experience that has normally been limited to just press days at auto shows to the consumers to bring a whole new experience and perspective to the car buyer. What we've also experienced on top of this is the way that our customers have been investigating and researching and really fueling their decision-making by utilizing other tools such as online. I had read a study from Gartner back in 2019 that stated that 70% of buying decisions were based on meeting with a potential supplier. Only 17%, 39% was researching online and offline. So the 2 points within my discussion today really talk about the significance and the importance of data insights. And that is when you think about it, consumer insights, but also business insights as you look at navigating an offer within an OEM. The second part is actually bringing in the consumer. So we classically have talked consumer when we are launching a vehicle, but now you're bringing that conversation in when you're doing your business pursuit activities. I now get asked during a business pursuit questions like, what's your social media presence? What's your reach? How many followers? These were questions I was never asked during a business pursuit. I was always asked when we were doing the go-to-market planning. So I'm about to show you a little bit of a video that illustrates a pivot that we have made. Bose is classically known for rational communications in the past with spec sheets. And as you may have recently observed, we're moving into more of the emotional appealing to the consumer. And we've done that in our CE or Consumer Electronics Division. but I want to give you an example of how we also have executed that in the automotive division.
Sound is what we do. And at Bose, we believe that the power of sound is meant for everyone. We research, we innovate, and we partner with car makers from around the world to build sound systems that people love.
So that gave you a little bit of a perspective of how we actually utilized some that asset at the beginning of some meetings to really create a foundation for the vibe for that meeting that is not a traditional tier one automotive company communication, but a little bit more of giving that perspective and a foundation to what our conversation is about. So we then kind of pivot when you think about it in looking at the consumer in the conversation. Consumers today are not looking to purchase a vehicle just to get from destination A to destination B. They're really that car to be an extension of what they're actually doing and who they're doing it with. The car has almost become an extension of the home. So things they want to do in the home, they want to actually be able to enjoy in their vehicle. Our approach, once again, is very consumer-centric. We look at the specific needs and desires and really what the consumer is looking to benefit from or experience as they're enjoying their vehicle. That allows us to give a very holistic view of the different experiences that a consumer wants. And in seeing that in a very big picture way, we can identify the technologies and features in a very thoughtful, practical, and appropriate way to the OEM. However, this also gives us an opportunity to look at other features that OEM customer may not have been asking for. We've all experienced it where the OEMs just tell us what they want. What we look at is telling them what they've asked us for, but also giving a different perspective on other experiences and features that consumer can benefit from. That becomes a point of consideration for the OEM. Once again, different way of saying it, but the consumer really is the crux of everything we do. And we look at all the different perspectives and data points associated with what our car customer needs. So this is almost analogous of the information that they look at, but we look at it from our category of expertise. And in that, we're allowed to really provide a profile and a perspective on what we feel are the most appropriate set of experiences, features, technologies that would allow the OEM customer to really achieve their specific business objectives. You know, obviously, a lot of it is sustaining the customer base that they're looking to keep, but also that conquest buyer to grow. They're also looking to bring in the young people to kind of get them in at the very early stages of their car buying experience and own that person through their life. So the significance of being able to really understand the consumer and where they are in their life cycle and their own personal journey is very significant. This then also allows us to have a good understanding of taking where they are in their life cycle, but then looking at their actual journey and consumer journey. So the offer and the information that comes out of the previous slide I just showed you is then framed into this consumer journey triangle that we use. You know, they want it, it appeals to them, they make the investment, they love it, they enjoy it. You're starting to build that relationship with that specific consumer and they buy again. I mean, that really is the whole point of consumer retention, is you want to create an experience that they want to have again and again, and that experience is relevant to them at each stage in their life. So the data becomes so significant that I use the analogy of you can't fly the plane by sight. The marketplace is so difficult. So if you're flying through the Rocky Mountains, you need to use your controls and be very precise in how you're navigating the marketplace and that landscape. And that precision allows you to be even more thoughtful in preparing your communications or deploying that message. We deploy the message still with the classic live. You need that face-to-face engagement with those customers, with our customers. The live engagement, direct sales is a significant part. But given the changing dynamics that we can't see customers as often as we used to, we're limited to the number of people that we can actually bring in to do a car demonstration. You have to actually look at the digital aspect of it as well. And as I mentioned or noted, B2B customers are actually utilizing social platforms that they would use for consumer investigation to do their investigation of suppliers. So there's a clear marriage between the B2B buying journey and the B2C journey. They're aligning themselves much more closely than they have in the past. So the digital communication aspect is as important because you can be in front of them when you're not in front of them physically. Finally, here we have just a little bit of an example of how we at Bose have still maintained the experience aspect of it, of live engagement, but we're really now balancing out with increasing our presence in the social platforms to communicate our message globally. So finally, you can see for us, data is king. It really allows us to be highly effective and efficient in communicating to our customers, conveying the value to the OEM consumer. And it really allows us to build a narrative that resonates with the different functions within OEM, as well as with the different consumer segmentation in the marketplace. And when we say really precise, is that we like to think that we absolutely know who we're talking to, what the levers are that we need to flip, and then we can effectively articulate a story that really brings the value of Bose to our customers and to the marketplace. And with that, any questions?
Heidi, that was such an amazing presentation. So much rich learnings to take away for the audience. I encourage everybody to drop your questions into the chat. But while we wait for questions to come in, I have a few of my own that I'd love to ask you. One question is thinking about, in one word, this is a question that we like to ask everybody, but in one word, when you think about gender and the auto industry, as we're in this precipice of such change in your field, in your area at Bose, what is the opportunity for women in this space?
Well, the reality of it, I would say there's probably, I have recognized probably over the last 5 or 6 years, there's more women than when I started. I have to say that. But I think when I look at the data, they always seem to have 50% of the buying decisions are made by women as well. So I think for us, we kind of provide a perspective. I always like to think of it as a counterpoint. So there's a different point because men and women are just different. We're wired differently. We bring different perspectives. And I think by being able to have once again, I talk about that holistic view, but that really is related to all diversity. It's not related specifically only to women, but being able to bring a community of people, like in our space of marketing, where you bring in a diverse group of people to help assess, analyze the insights that you have. You create a diverse point of view that allows you to really communicate a story that is reflective of the marketplace, right? You actually are mirroring what is currently going on in the market. So once again, you have such an opportunity to bring a different perspective into the picture than it being a one point of view. So I always look at our point of view as just we offer just that little bit of a different spin that is very significant and relevant, as in specifically in the marketing space to telling the stories.
100%. And you bring up such great points about it all being in the data, right? Being able to track all of this information with real quantifiable information. We have a question that's come in from Rita, who asks, how do you divide teams in terms of customer targeting internally, whether it's B2B or B2C?
Well, in the automotive division, so within Bose Corporate, we have a C Consumer Electronics division, which has the B2C group. So it's almost done naturally by division. The automotive division is a B2B or account-based marketing community. My team is global, very diverse. We're not all based in the United States. And we are really specifically, our responsible only is the account-based marketing activities. And then, within that, we have various customers that we support, and we have specific internal criteria, like most companies do, revenue, things like that, and significance in, what they're doing, the business strategies of that OEM, to look at how we kind of, I would call it divide and conquer.
Mm-hmm. So from Ilana, we have a lot of questions coming in, which is awesome. So Alana asks, does Bose or Bose Automotive have a program of developing young professionals and specifically a focus on gender diversity and women?
So we do. I mean, we completely embrace development. And actually, we look at it as, co-op internships, completely on board, very, very much embracing that. We think it really is essential to drive innovation and creativity in the division by bringing in new and different talents into the organization. And I even joke, even developing people at my level still, so the concept of development and talent developing is very important to Bose and to our future, no matter what division you're in within our company. And also, we are, within the Bose community, as I like to call it, you then have different communities within it. So, I mean, we do have a Women at Bose organization, but we also have very different organizations within the company to embrace, so people do have the community. I want to say, because it's so important, company that big, you always need to have a touchstone, I think is a good way to communicate it. But I also, and once again, I'm speaking a little bit on my own personal opinion on that in this point, is the fact, but you also need to break out of that, because you also, for us, we look at ourselves as one Bose. So once again, it's the diversity and the bringing together of the different communities that actually make a company stronger. As well as, once again, for our perspective as marketing, you get the diverse points of view on how you're communicating to the marketplace, to the consumer, and to our customers. So once again, you want to mirror what you are talking to, but the insights really has to tell you what you're looking at. So I hope that answers the question.
It does. And we have a few more questions that, in the interest of time, I'm going to kind of encapsulate them into one question from Gabrielle, Jesse, and Matt Husmita. There's a deep interest in understanding how women are integral to the buying process, and how do you market automotive solutions that are essentially B2B, yet encapsulate women's perspective into product and marketing. And how have you seen this change over your rich 30-year career?
So to answer it in a simple way, it's the consumer profile. So when you're utilizing the data and you're seeing the different buyers, there's not like one profile for one car. It usually is a different set. So you actually go through profiling the guy, profiling the woman. You actually then do that, and you can then create the narratives that would resonate with both audiences. You know, how you would talk to them. What's the market? What are the benefits? What are the messages? So I always use data, because the one thing that I want, you know, you have to remember, you are not marketing to yourself. You are marketing to people that are not you. If you do not utilize the information, the consumer insights, the business insights, and be able to synthesize the information to paint a picture for you, given the different dynamics, it's going to be really hard to message it because you think it's you and it's not you. So being able to do that, my first question is always like, what are the business objectives and who's the target buyer? Those are my first two questions, because if you can get that information, you can start building things out, working with your consumer and market insights groups to start building the profiles and know what they care about and what they're willing to spend money on.
Mm-hmm. As a follow-up to that question, how do women make automotive buying decisions differently than men? And if yes, how does that decision process differ? That's Gabrielle's question.
Because I'm sorry, I don't want to be difficult with the the question, but even categorizing just a woman, you know, there are women who don't have children. There are women who have children. There are women who are empty nesters. So you have to, once again, look at, you know, women make decisions differently. You know, men make it a certain way, women do it a certain way. But even when you say that, I happen to be a very practical, linear, fact-based thinker. I'm not like, when it comes to making an investment on a car, I'm not an emotional buyer. Okay. So I may be counter to someone else. So I know I keep on going, but you have to look at the data, because you have to see what a woman is doing. Is she a professional? What does she do every day? And typically the great way is the frame, and this is not new, day in the life. What do I do when I wake up? And what's all those things done in between to what I do at the end of the day? And that actually helps you to model that person, that woman, in what she is doing during the course of the day, to be very precise in marketing to her. The one thing that I've learned over the years is you can't categorize male, female. That's why there's so many consumer segmentations out there and profiles out there, because the marketing to a gender isn't, you really have to peel back. It's not the demographic, it's a psychographic, the ethnographic information. All those things play into it than just whether you're male or female. So in the marketing space, it's really evolving. So that's why the precision, because it's not as black and white as it used to be about 20 years ago.
Yeah, my personal opinion, I 100% always agree with that. And I think you alluded to that in your presentation, really digging into the lifetime cycle of a customer, right? Like it's looking at who your customers are in different life stages and their choices, which are probably maybe salient around gender. We have one last question, and this is from Anya, who asks, what is the major, maybe one more, oh, here we go. What is the major impact on the sales process, giving the new path to purchase during COVID and less dealer visits that are occurring now?
Very simply, the automotive industry is very old school. If anyone bought a car before the pandemic, you were still waiting 3 hours to get delivery, even when you did your paperwork before you walked in. That is changing. That is evolving. Also, when I said Tesla coming in has changed the dynamic of how you can buy a car. The Tesla way is more my personal preference. You have to, you know, the 20 months or whatever it's been, seems like a lifetime of the pandemic, has completely changed behaviors. Everyone wants to do everything online, to the point of getting a car delivered at home. So in the automotive industry, and when we're engaging, our go-to-market plans change. They have to be very heavily into the digital side. You also have to look at what's going on at the retail, at the transaction point, because you do train the trainer events. Is that dealership or is that OEM completely like 100% digital? How has the retail experience changed as well to being more online? And I'm now not doing the deal at the dealership. I'm doing the deal at their house. Do I want them to demo the car? So it starts begging a lot of questions, and that goes through the consumer journey, but specifically at the transaction point of when the consumer actually is ready to sign, has been the, at least from my perspective, the most significant change, which was kind of needed anyway, in my opinion. But that then changes the marketing, the communication, and everything else. So once again, that consumer journey that I talked about has changed. And you really have to go through every touch point of the buying decision to see the different points. People aren't going to go to the car shows anymore. We're seeing reduced attendance. They don't want to be with a million people. You might find OEMs they had started to do more remote things. You may find that may become more of the norm, and the exception is the auto show for a consumer to buy a car, look at a car.
Well, you did such a fantastic job framing how we think about change and understanding it, and really going forward. Really appreciate your fantastic presentation, Heidi. Thank you for joining us today.
You're welcome.
All right. Well, next up, I'd love to invite our next crew to the stage. This is a fun one. We have a presentation about how to empower a squirrel to jump even further. And we are going to learn more about TE's rotational mentoring program. And to lead us through that conversation, we have Oksana Graf, who is the operations manager for TE Connectivity, and Petra Schroeter, global customer quality management for TE Connectivity. And they are going to join you in a moment.